Good morning, students. We will start with the third unit today, which is about BI definitions and concepts. So, here we are going to talk about a business and how that business will be divided into different layers and how they try to manage it, why they try to divide it into different architectures. Basically, it will help you to manage the business, break down your business into smaller groups, and you can concentrate on each of those smaller groups or each of those smaller architectures. So let's get started now. So the BI component framework, the first concept you have is BI component framework. So here you can see how the business is divided and into how many layers you can divide any particular given business. So they give you three layers there. The first one is the business layer, administration and operation layer, and third is the implementation layer. Okay. So each of these layers we will understand in detail, and each of these layers are again subdivided into various sub layers also. First, let us have a look at this particular diagram here. Okay, the outer one, the color yellow, the outer ring in yellow color is your business layer. So a business layer is made up of again four components. So which are the four components for the business layer? You can see here you have program management, you have business requirement, then you have development, and the last one, that is business value. Here is the last one, business value. So this outer yellow ring is your business layer. The business layer is again divided into four sub layers. Then you have the second one. As you move inside the ring, the layer in green color is about administration and operation layer. The green layer is about administration and the operation layer. So this again contains business applications, data resource administration, BI architecture, and BI and DW operations. And the third layer, the last one, the ring in blue color, is your implementation layer. So the implementation layer again has two components there, that is a data warehousing and information services. So this is the BI component framework. Let us just concentrate on the first layer, which is your business layer. So this business layer, okay, have a look again, the same thing here, which consists of the four components. So your business layer basically is going to talk about the different requirements in the first point. That is your this part, the business requirements here. So let us have a look here what the business requirements contain. So basically your business requirements, okay, is again made up of 3 points. So what are those 3 points? They are business drivers, business goals, and business strategies. So let us understand these one by one. So remember how we are moving through the architecture, okay? The outer layer, that is your business layer. Business layer made up of four components. These are the four components that it is made up of. In this, we are talking about the first component, that is business requirement. This business requirement is again made up of 3 points or three sub layers, you can say. So which are those three sub layers? You have business drivers, business goals, and business strategies. So what are these business drivers? Your business drivers basically, as the description is given there, are the impulses that initiate the need to act. Okay, basically in a business, any particular process that is getting carried out, if that process is helping or if that process is trying to initialize the people in the business to take an action, that will be called as a business driver. So basically this is like a trigger. So this is going to act like a catalyst for the people in the business to take an action, to come up with an action. Just we'll understand this with an example. Like if at all, in the business, you know that business talks about, in a broader sense, we can speak about the business and the labor laws. Okay, so for the laws for the employees that are working under a certain organization or a company. So time and now these laws keep on changing. So as and how these laws keep on changing, the company or that business will have to act accordingly. So this particular business law is acting as a trigger there for the people in the organization to change. Also, understand that if at all the technology in that business has changed. Another example, a particular company was working on a certain technology. Say it was initially working on VB.NET, and now that particular company has, it needs to move, it needs to get updated. Okay, so the technology that they are working, or the customers are demanding that they need their particular software to be implemented in a different technology. So from VB.NET, the company has decided to shift to Java now. So the technology has changed. As per the changing technology, the company will be forced to also change various other things in the organization. First thing will be to update their employees with that technology. If the employees are not up to date, that is, they will have to provide them certain training. Okay, then accordingly, what is happening here is, according to the changing technology, the change, the impulse or the trigger has taken place, and the need to act here is to also train the employees. So business drivers basically act as an triggering. They do the act of trying to initiate the need to take an action there. Next one you have is the business goals. So business goals are the targets to be achieved in response to the business drivers. So in response to business drivers, again, the example here is your changing the technology. Based on the changing technology, which is a business driver, you will try to achieve the business goals. Okay, so basically what is going to happen when the technology is changed, you will try to concentrate on customer satisfaction, because the customer was, assume the customer was the person who was demanding that his particular software to be on a certain specific platform. So here when we talk about business goals, any company or organization will have certain goals, like say they want to increase the market reach in certain 5 or 10 years. They want to increase their productivity. They want to improve their market share in the coming 5 or 10 years. Also they want improved profit. So all such things will be there, will be the goals of the businesses. So all these goals can be achieved with the help of your business drivers. Then the third one, business strategies, are the planned course of action that will help achieve the set goals. So basically, strategies talk about the planning on how to achieve the business goals. Okay, strategies are nothing but they are the chalked out plans which will help you to achieve, or which will help you to move closer towards your goals for the business. So some examples could be what, if at all you have updated your technology there as a part of your business driver, and the goal now is to have the customer satisfaction, because overall not just for one customer you have changed the technology, say overall for all of the customers you have decided to move from the older technology to a newer technology. So your goal would be to keep the customers satisfied as they were when they were given the service or the product from the older technology. Then the next thing, the strategy here would be, one possibility is, since you have moved from one technology to another, there could be employees who are not comfortable working, or who are not comfortable updating to the newer technology or any changed technology. Then they will decide to quit the job because they may not be able to cope up with the new technology. So here the strategy is that you want to retain all the employees also. So you should come up with certain plans as to how can you keep those employees working in the company itself, and they, if they are very good, you do not want to let them go. So you need to decide on certain things. How would you keep those employees retained within your company? Also, then since you have updated to technology now, you will also think about the pricing, right? If the technology is a very high end technology, then the pricing also will change. So these all things will again come into picture, because somehow all these things, pricing, cost, when all these things come, achieving the business goals becomes again a little difficult if the budget is tight. So you will you'll have to think on terms of what planning or what strategies you can do to still achieve the goals that you have set for the business. So we are done with this first one here, that is business requirement. Let us move to the second one now, in the from the business layer, that is the business value. The second one is the business value. So you can see here some points are mentioned, that is return on investment, return on asset, total cost of ownership, and total value of ownership. So what are these? So whenever you apply certain strategies or you have certain plans to achieve your business goals, many things come into the picture. Cost will be there, that like so much of funding is there, so within that period of time, time constraint will be there. Budget and time constraints, because within that given budget and within the given time period you need to achieve that goal. Also, then the important thing that comes into picture is the information. You need the correct information now again for the analysis purpose, or even for the production of that particular business there, productivity of that business there. Then all these things, when we talk about what when we say budget and time constraint, so what is business value then? So you should understand it like the final output that you get from your after carrying out these processes, that is after trying to update technology or various other things, when you invest your cost and time there. So what is going to be the final outcome? The final outcome, if at all it is profitable, that is if it is going as per your expectations, then you can say that whatever you have invested, that was worth it. The value has come, the value has come good. Whatever you invested, the proper value has come for that. Your budget, your time restrictions, your efforts, manual manpower efforts, everything has paid you off well. So to calculate that, okay, how to measure now whether you have whatever investment you have done, whether that has really been successful, how can you measure it then? So they have given these four terms. First one is return on investment. So assume that, to understand this particular point, you assume that we have, let's take an example of a digital electronics good company. Okay. So now all these digital electronics good companies are making use of an online platform. So from this online platform, they will be able to connect to their clients, and also they will be able to sell off their products. And main important thing is, with the help of digital platforms, they are able to have connection with the social media, and with that they will be at a proper market, that is they will be able to connect with new customers and increase the number of customers there through online marketing, that is trying to connect through social media. So you can say that when we talk about return on investment here, they have invested money in terms of budget, they have invested on the social media platforms for digital marketing. So they must have paid up for, if they have a website, since we are talking about online marketing, they can have an app, they can have a website, and they can promote their business on digital marketing platforms like say Facebook, Twitter, even Instagram. They can have a business profile on WhatsApp. So all these, somewhere they will require monetary aspects. They will have, these are all paid services. So they are investing on that. So how can you say that whatever they have invested, they have got a proper return on that? I mean, they have got the returns from that. The important thing is, even if out of all the investment that they have done, even if 20% of the customers, potential customers, turn out to be the actual buyers, okay, after seeing those ads on the social media or digital platform, even if 20% customers or users turn up, so we can say that whatever they have invested, they have got returns for that. So that is called as a return on investment. If customers do not turn up in spite of you trying to invest so much, all whatever you have invested, your budget and time is all a waste. Your business is not running good. You have got no returns now. All whatever you have invested has all turned out to be a loss. The next thing is return on asset. So what is this return on asset? So same, the electronics company now, if at all in the market, they say, you assume they have a net worth of certain, say like 1 crore rupees. They have a net worth of 1 crore rupees. Okay. Now you have to, when we talk about the digital companies or the electronic companies, how are the assets calculated? What are the assets here? The assets are going to be their goods, the electronic goods. So all these are total assets, okay? So these assets, when you try to evaluate the market value for that, each of these assets, if the value is increasing day by day. When we talk about electronic items, the value is increasing day by day. So the net worth of the company along with its assets, and it turns out to be more than 20%. Okay, it turns out to be more than 20%. Then you can say that whatever assets they have, the physic assets are basically those entities or those electronic goods. When sold, will help them to get back certain profit. Profit would be terms of money also, especially for these goods. If I'm trying to sell it, the profit that I'm expecting is in terms of money. So the moment I sell any assets of this company and I'm trying to make up the adding to the net worth of the company here, and when I sell these assets, and even if I'm able to make 20% on the assets, so you can say the earning that is generated is good. So you are getting a return on the assets. So assets could be even in terms of any other company you can take, and then in a similar way you can calculate the net worth of the company and the value of those assets. Once all the assets are sold, even if 20% income is generated, so you can say the return on asset is there, the profit is there for return on assets. Next you have total cost of ownership. So here what happens is the person who has started the company, say like one the example the other day that we took for the restaurant. So I said there, Krupa is the owner of the company. So right from the time the company has come into its existence, till she decides to shut down that particular restaurant, whatever happens in between, okay, the maintenance for that hotel, the maintenance of those various tables, chairs, and all the kitchen equipment that is required, everything, all the cost is going to be bared by her. All the salaries, any other expenses that come, any other repair work that happens, all that cost will be taken up by that particular person. So that is the owner there. So that is called as total cost of ownership. It is for a business, it is not just the money that is put up in the initial stage, that is as in what you say, to start that business, that money you require. It is not just that. But till you close the company also, lot of expenses will be there. So expenses would be again in terms of if new staff is hired, their salaries, a new table, chair, new environment, you require new ambience you have to create, you have to set up new lights, you need a new refrigerator to store the items. So these expenses go on adding till you decide to end the business. So till then, whatever expenses happen, whatever cost happens, all that cost will be called as cost of ownership. That cost is associated with the owner. He is the person who's trying to manage all those expenses. So that is called as total cost of ownership. Then the last one you have total value of ownership. So this is just calculated by a simple formula, and the formula is assets is equal to liabilities plus owner's equity, or you could also put it as, let me just write the formula here in terms of annotation. Okay, the formula for this would be assets. A stands for assets. What are liabilities? Anyone from commerce background, you will be perfect in this. What are liabilities? You have last one is total cost of the ownership. Nobody knows what is a liability.
Ma'am, a
Ma'am,
kind of a
dues
burden
that
on the
a company
company.
should pay.
I
I'm
did,
sorry.
I did not understand. I didn't hear actually.
Something that is not profitable to the company and something which is being a burden.
Huh. Okay. Like
That is a liability.
for example, you have say, uh, you have taken money from somebody. You need to give it back. The company has taken a loan from another company or has taken loan from another bank. At the end, what is going to happen? The company has to repay it. No, so that is not good for the company. Being in debt or being liable for somebody else's money there. So same here also the liability, whatever the liability could include in terms of money or it could include in terms of goods also. So this value of ownership can be calculated by assets. That is what the company owns. Everything the company owns. Okay, without any loans, without any debts, without any lending and all. What is the actually the company's thing is that is called as assets. Liabilities are which is currently you are using, but it is not yours. You will have to pay for it if you want to make it yours. Plus, total cost of ownership is this one, that is the expenses from the start of the company up till now, all those expenses. So, if this side, your RHS side, happens to be more than your assets, then your company is not in profit. If your LHS side is more and your RHS side is low, they say that you are in a good profit condition. Your assets are more. That's your, with the assets only you can also calculate your total worth in the market. So this is the meaning of total value of ownership. So you can also include your, if at all the company is having any market share, it is in put up in the this stock markets, any shares are there, so even that could be calculated for total value of ownership. Let's move to the next point. Let me just clear the annotations here. Okay, the third part of this particular first layer, that is business layer, is program management. What is this program management? When we talk about business, there are various things. There could be projects, there could be certain priorities for that business, there could be various people, and those people will also be sometimes part of these processes. So, here, what is important is trying to maintain a smooth functioning between your projects, between the various people that are involved, and the priorities. There should be smooth functioning and there should be compatibility between all the three of them. Okay, there could be instances wherein people, in the sense you consider the employees who are allocated for a particular project. So if the employees are not getting well along with each other, then definitely a project will be hampered. Your working of that project, the deadline or the when you want to deliver it, the deadline or the budget, everything tends to get hampered. So that is why the smooth functioning between these three entities are important. That is the people, then process, and the priority. Priority is you have say multiple flows of the business. Any one particular section you give a priority. So that's how you try to maintain balance between these three. So now they have given you again some subcategories here apart from people, projects, and priorities. You can also take care to maintain seamless functioning, smooth functioning between these sections also. Business priorities are same that we talked about. The simple priorities or the business priorities is a single term there. Mission and goals, whatever you have for the company, any project, particular project, or any particular customer, then with every business you have certain plans to achieve your goals, and with those goals only there will be certain risks. If you are not able to achieve the goal, then what risks will be there? Then you can have a multiple project even for a particular business also. Then dependencies, for a project, on which are the various factors you are dependent. You could be dependent on cost, you could be dependent on time, you could be dependent on cost associated with investment from other people. You could be again dependent if you are outsourcing your project to a different company and you're waiting for certain input from them, and after that only you can carry out with your project. Then you have cost and value, then business rules and infrastructure. So business rules depends from company to company, and if multiple companies are involved together, there could be clashes when two or more companies are involved. So for that, a better way would be you have a written tender document wherein all the rules are clearly stated between the two or more parties. Legally, you carry out your businesses legally so that there is no clashing and smooth functioning is established. Then infrastructure, whenever we talk for business, if you talk about expanding the business also, moving from a small space to a large space will again need different infrastructure resources, be it computers for IT section or just say a bigger rooms if you have any machinery involved in the business. So this is about program management. The important thing here to understand is having the smooth functioning between the various sectors of the business. Then the last one we have is development. The last section for the first layer is development. So what this development talks about? So in the business, there is going to be data that is coming from different databases. Okay. So again, the process of ETL is applied here. So what is again ETL? That is trying to get the data, trying to integrate it, trying to remove all those different errors and bugs, trying to purify it or trying to filter that data, and then trying to store it in your data warehouse for reference, so that this data from the data warehouse can be used for business analytics, can be used for analysis, and this analysis will help again to take the business to a higher level. So this is your first layer. We are still here. Have a look here. This the outer circle, the yellow circle. We have just completed here this one, the business requirement, program management, development, and the last one, business value. So we have completed this outer layer. We still have to move inside these two layers. So we will end the session here today. The next two layers we shall take up in the next class.